The issues in Arizona, big election year, and a lot of eyes on the state of Arizona and the big elections that are here. So joining us is the chairman of the state party, Jonathan Lyons. I appreciate you being here.
Thank you very much, Mike.
Let's start with the big races. Let's start with the Senate race. From your perspective, obviously being the GOP chairman, keeping that a Republican seat means a lot to Arizona. But nationally, there is a lot of attention on the seat being vacated by Senator Flake.
There is. And I had the opportunity to visit the president in the Oval Office several months ago. And it was one of the things that he told me was priority for him, was keeping the Senate seat, keeping Arizona red, and asking us not to play in primaries. And so we are looking forward to getting through our primaries, Mike, and being able to focus on whoever the voters choose so that we can work towards retaining that seat and keeping them in office.
Is it difficult for you personally sometimes if you see somebody, you got to stay out of it, but if you see somebody that you think is making a mistake that may make the party look bad, but you've got to stay, is that tough for you to stay out of sometimes?
It's extremely tough, yeah, and so I do a lot of screaming into the wind sometimes, and oftentimes I will call a candidate personally and just say, hey, have you considered how this might look on the outside? You know, I did ask for Representative Stringer's resignation because of some of the things that he said, but they were beyond what I would consider just ordinary politics.
So this Senate race, you know, 3 Republicans in the race, but in the end, it's not just about wins and losses. It's not just about keeping it red, but it is about doing the right things for Arizona. And Arizona right now is benefiting from a governor that's got it when it comes to business and partnering with the federal government, tax relief and things like that. Those, I think, are the issues that most people want to keep going.
They are, and I had the opportunity to sit down with a Mesa roundtable last week, a lot of defense contractors, to talk about the president's tax cuts and to talk about what the governor has done as far as bringing businesses to Arizona. And I am extremely grateful for those partnerships because they allow us and give us the opportunity to show the great things that are happening and what could be in store. You know, one of the things that the Mesa defense contractor said was that they loved the collaboration that they found here in the state. But they're also finding it for the first time on a federal level. And so we are looking, you know, to make sure that we retain the seat and to put somebody in there who is representative of Arizona, our core values and beliefs and who we are.
And it's interesting because I know Representative Sinema, I know Kirsten Sinema fairly well, and I've got a history because I've been here since 1995, and she has morphed the image of who she is as a politician, not question who she is as a person, but she was a communist when she was in the state legislature. I mean, she called herself that.
She still says that she's a Prada socialist, right? And that you know, she voted for the health care, which is not an Arizona value. We only have one choice here in Arizona now. People can't afford it. It's continuing to fall apart. I mean, people are worse off now than they were health care wise. In other areas of government, they're doing much better, but you know, she's moderated herself into being something that she's not. She doesn't even say that she's a Democrat or a Prada socialist.
But will someone, it's got to be in the general election, a lot of those questions have to be asked.
Absolutely.
And one of the things that's interesting about her is that the scandal that's not been talked about in D.C. that started with Debbie Wasserman Schultz and that family, that I think they were from Pakistan, that was their IT specialist that got caught downloading all of that data. Representative Sinema was one of the people that had one of them employed by her that was working for her as well.
Yep.
It's just a question that needs to be asked.
Yeah, and eventually all that stuff will come out. I mean, we are focused on building the party right now. That's first and foremost what we need to do as far as getting our ground game in place. I'm disappointed with some of the ads that I've seen on TV, you know, where she paints herself as being something completely different. She's gotten a pass from Pelosi. Pelosi was here stumping for the Democrats this week, right? They're focused on bringing California and far left loony politics to Arizona. They want to, like we talked about earlier this week, they want to California our Arizona, and we're just not going to stand for it.
And it's so funny that the reason why they're leaving California and coming here is because of the oppressive taxes and the regulations. They're driving business owners out that don't want to leave.
Right.
But why they would come here and bring that with them instead of taking a deep breath and saying, man, look at how great it is here. I just don't get it.
No, and so we continue to push back. You know, we've launched that new campaign, Don't California Our Arizona. We're going to continue to push back and make sure that people like Tom Steyer, who is investing millions of dollars to change Arizona, and it would change how we how and what we pay for electrical rates here. It puts at risk Palo Verde Nuclear Power Plant, which is one of the it is the single largest taxpayer here in Arizona, right, and specifically in Maricopa County. But it's good, clean energy. He made his money in oil and gas, and now he's focused on making money in the solar industry. and he's fully funding it independently of everybody else.
What I'd like to talk about in the next segment is when you say ground game.
Sure.
There are a lot of people that would love to get informed and get involved. And I want to talk to you how they can do both of them.
We'd love to have them.
We'll be back with the state chairman in just a minute.
Thanks.
Talking to Republican Party Chairman Jonathan Lyons about the state of Arizona, one of the things that determines every election is turnout.
Absolutely.
And how do you get somebody that's a registered voter to the polls? So now it's got to be about registering, but then what motivates someone to get out and vote? What do you do to get people motivated?
So, you know, you look at what's confronting Arizona and what we're up against, and that motivates a lot of people. Don't California or Arizona. What are you looking at? Yeah, right. So higher taxes. Is this a state where we're going to tolerate higher taxes? What's going to happen to our school systems, right? The governor did a great job as far as mitigating and making sure the teachers got the raise that they deserved, but now you have the Invest in Ed where they want to double our state income tax. But it doesn't just hit the wealthiest, it goes all the way down to the bottom. It filters down to the people who are the most susceptible and not able to absorb any type of a tax increase. So those are the things that motivate. It's also a motivation to be able to keep our seats red, to be able to keep conservative, business-minded people in office so that we can continue to move this state forward. There's far more people employed now in Arizona than were during the last administration. Talking about the presidential administration, and our governor and our president has done an amazing job as far as creating opportunities. We can't be complacent because things are better.
You know, the idea that we want more money in schools, everybody agrees with.
Sure.
And when they say it's a 4% increase to the wealthiest in Arizona,
it's not.
It's not. It's a 78 to 80% increase.
Right.
And it's not just the wealthiest.
Yes.
But if people aren't informed about that, they believe it's a small amount of money, but it's going to benefit the schools, and it almost seems like a walkover. But the more people learn, the more they realize this is a bad idea because it's going to hammer small businesses.
It will completely destroy small businesses, you know, as far as those with a pass-through, but it will increase almost 100% on everybody across the board. And, you know, a lot of people have been calling out the people who've been pushing that initiative for misrepresenting, and they're asking the judges to consider the fact that they've misrepresented what it will actually do to the mom and pop stores, to the lowest level. And, you know, small businesses, Mike, account for like 99% of the businesses here in Arizona. Think about how that would affect our growth and our ability to be able to provide opportunities. It was interesting as I met with a group of kind of soft Ds and soft Rs just to kind of talk about where they were 8 years ago and where they are now. And things are better. They're improving. They have hope. And they have real hope, right? Now that they have more change in their pocket.
Yeah. So for the people that want to get involved, because I would say when the Tea Party started, we all were around with the foundation of the Tea Parties. It was more of a, I'm fed up. We're taxed enough already. The people that want to get involved now are seeing a momentum of positive, and you know, from our perspective, from the right perspective, that we are seeing the changes. The tax cuts are not only helping people, but they're increasing money into the Treasury, and revenue is up. For someone that wants to get involved, what do you recommend?
info@azgop.org. Send us an email, get involved. Last time President Trump came to town, we were able to capture almost 3,000 unique and new volunteers to the party. And we've got a great ground game going. We've got.
How important is that ground game?
It's the most important thing to turning out voters in this election. Not only in the primary, hey, you know, have you turned in your ballots? Hey, are you going to turn in your ballot? Are we going to elect the right people? But then getting them to turn in their ballots in the general election. We're outpacing the Democrats as far as voter registration. Our numbers are still higher than the Democrats by over 200,000 in this state. But people, if they don't turn in their ballots, we're not going to be able to keep our seats red. On the sheer numbers alone, we can do it.
I think that people, they get complacent.
Very complacent.
They figure, Arizona's been red for so long, it's if I miss it, if I'm not going to vote, it's not going to matter that much. And then those are the kinds of things where the next thing you wake up and there's an Ocasio-Cortez that beats a 10-term incumbent because people just didn't turn out.
Right. He was very complacent, right? So you can't take anything for granted. We're not taking for granted. We're getting up every single morning and fighting like everything is on the line every single day. Just because we're doing better in those areas as far as the voter registration, just because our numbers are higher, we cannot take anything for granted. People have to return their ballots. They have to engage. They have to know that they can make a difference. Every vote counts. I mean, you look at the last couple congressional races here in Arizona. Those were decided by razor-thin margins, paper-thin margins. Yeah. right? And you know, oftentimes people say, well, what would have happened if I would have voted? The outcome would have changed. Well, you know what? We were able to send Republicans back in those races. However, now we have, you know, races that are much tighter, and it's important to be engaged.
I agree. I think that for the people out there, if you're registered to vote, you still have to get out and turn out to the polls, but you are motivated to action. Now's the time to act. Right now, there is a big push to change Arizona and the way we do things. If you want to hold solid what we have, get to the website, volunteer, and get out to vote. Thanks for the time.
Thank you, Mike.
Appreciate it.
Good to see you again.
We'll be back.